Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on winning the automation and AI race in healthcare recruiting. My name is Shahzad Karkhanawala. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Joveo. A little bit about Joveo. Joveo is a modern age acronym for a job for everyone. And that's the mission that we started with. We believe there's a right job for everybody in the world, and it is our job to deliver that. To achieve this mission, we have built a high-performance automated recruitment marketing platform that combines programmatic job advertising, career sites, talent engagement, and conversational AI to attract, source, engage, and hire the right candidates. Now, on the topic of today's webinar, we know that talent acquisition in healthcare is evolving in so many interesting ways, especially with the automation and AI wave. As practitioners and talent acquisition leaders, it's critical that we stay ahead of the curve, not just with tools and technology, but with the right frameworks and insights. We have three wonderful speakers joining us today. Jennifer Henley, Chief Operating Officer of NAS Recruitment, has built healthcare recruitment marketing programs for a number of different healthcare organizations across the United States. Jason Pistulka is an award-winning healthcare leader and practitioner who recently left HCA Healthcare as their Assistant Vice President of Talent Acquisition to start StratTech Consulting and help healthcare TA organizations with their strategy and technology needs. Prateek Mishra is Joveo's Chief Technology Officer and one of the leading voices in automation and AI in the recruiting space. Over the next 45 minutes, Jennifer, Jason, and Prateek will be talking about how you can win the automation and AI race in healthcare recruiting. The last 10 to 15 minutes of our session will be dedicated to Q&A. Please feel free to share your questions at any time during the session using the Q&A window. Don't be shy. With that, I will hand over the baton to Jennifer.
Excellent. Thank you so much. A staggering statistic, 80% of healthcare execs say that TA and retention are the biggest risks. Now, they're all talking about talent acquisition and retention, but while the specific number on the screen is compelling, it does represent a profound shift in the landscape of healthcare specifically. We're no longer talking about clinical excellence or innovation. We're really talking about human capital driving it all. The war for talent is intensifying, and there's many factors. These include demographic shifts, aging workforce, the escalating demand for special skills are helping create this perfect storm. The competition, for example, for qualified nurses, physicians, and even allied health professionals like therapy, pharmacy, it's fiercer than ever. And traditional ways and platforms are just not cutting it. It demands a shift of reactive hiring to proactive strategic workforce planning. This isn't about P&L, it's about saving lives and ensuring that when talent acquisition falters, patient access to care diminishes, wait times, quality, etc. So turning that insight into action, what does this mean? Having engaged and satisfied employees, they become more productive, they lead to higher revenue and profitability, but also high retention workforces tend to be more engaged and in turn get more work done. Focusing specifically, when you have empowered employees with better delivering better patient experience, it increases productivity, right? There's a direct link to revenue and not only patient satisfaction, but employee satisfaction. When we talk about that happy candidate, the better experience, higher conversions, and more hires. This really speaks to portraying your organization in the best manner and being responsive to their needs during the process. As we mentioned about retention, it does reduce recruiting, hiring, and training expenses. But it also, we've noticed too, there's an increase in this ghosting, which we'll talk about a little bit more, and looking at all the right metrics that are so important to pay special attention to during this time. Excellent. So now here's a couple interesting statistics, and we want to just talk these through because each of these outcomes, there's a lot to be desired. As you'll see here, Rogue Hire recently showed that 33% of nursing positions have aged 120 days. There's ways in which partners such as Joveo could really support the way this is positioned in a much more proactive manner to give visibility and enhancements to those openings. In addition, which I find very interesting, is 2 out of 3 candidates have not heard movement or a phone call or an outreach from a recruiter in almost 3 weeks, if not over. There's a lot to be said about that. Candidates are being ghosted by recruiters, which is, it's a growing issue, and it can be very frustrating for candidates and damage the employer's reputation. Several factors contribute to that, just being overwhelmed by the sheer volume of applications, or just the discomfort to deliver rejections. Overwhelmed recruiters, it's a demanding role, right? And it leads to them being overwhelmed by those volumes. The other thing I wanted to point out is just the 1.5 years. This seems astronomical, but new hires have created profile in your ATSs, in your particular applicant tracking system, are almost a year and a half old. There's an opportunity here as well to ensure that you're leveraging those lists and outreach, and you're keeping those systems clean and engaged and nurturing potential candidates. The next, this is 75% of orgs can also not, they cannot do an apple to apples comparison. So the inability to track hires and the entire hiring funnel across sources in real time leads to poor decision making and inefficient budget allocation. That real time visibility shows the hiring data real time, right? Allowing organizations to make quicker, more informed changes so they can see immediate impact. The lack of visibility really hinders the opportunity to optimize hiring strategies. And we all know speed is important. Being agile and adapting to the environment seasonally by other changes within the marketplace are so crucial. So that ability of real-time visibility is most essential, and encourage even more reason to have those top of funnel comparison based upon the sourcing method, job board, social media, et cetera. Now, when we think about AI, there's a few stories that can tell you, and we wanted to bring something to light, a little different than talent acquisition, but this is an opportunity that's in a real life experience. So Cedars-Sinai was recently acknowledged for introducing AVA, the nurse assistant. We know that nurses are overburdened with administrative tasks, but there are many stories what have it, the tasks and systems they deal with. Nurses document about, 600 to 800 data points in their electronic health records in a 12-hour shift. That's astronomical. And they spend about 25 to 40% of their time on shift documenting. Now, why this is important, because it's only getting worse, not better, is that nurses are asked to capture more data, handle more equipment, and learn new types of interfaces. These opportunities to leverage a voice command in charting saves time, energy, and lives. It's really been able to help reduce nurses' stress, burnout, and turnover. And this will become a competitive advantage in leveraging these types of resources, not only in the practical day by healthcare providers, but also in how you target, attract, and engage talent. And I'll leave you with this, data. So this is an interesting point before we shift to our poll question, which data is just data. It's really insights, what you're reviewing and how you're reacting and adapting. So we've talked a lot about a few stats, in particular, what we're seeing on average. Some organizations may have better, some may have worse. But again, attracting the right talent to fill gaps quickly, retain employees, ensures that knowledge, stability, and productivity, and together they'll all help improve company performance. So again, with these questions, we wanted to just simply ask, how do you turn this into action, right? So can you compare performances across other sources in real time? If the answers to any of these questions are no, or maybe not right now, and if it's yes, that's great. But I do think it's important to ensure that you're mapping that full candidate journey, because in that real-time visibility, you can identify specific strategies of where, when, and why do candidates drop, so that you can resolve those situations as well as address them. And then also too, making sure that as you select an automation partner, identify, is it really working? Like, what are your outcomes? Those will change. You will improve over time, and your tech partner will be there right with you. Everyone always wants to know who else is doing this. Keep it abreast of what your competition is up to. If they're not embracing this now, you should, because that'll give you a competitive advantage to ensure that you have the right visibility to be successful moving forward. Whole time.
All right. Please take a moment to add your choices in, and we should be ready to go soon. We'll give it about 10 more seconds. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. With that, I will request Jason to take over.
Thank you. Well, as the slide says, the automation revolution is here and it's changing. But the reality is the automation revolution's been here for a long time. It's just been very subdued. ATSs have had automation in them, since the dawn of my time working in recruiting. It's just largely underused by organizations, and the complexity of configuration and things like that. Many times they didn't understand what they're doing. And in the 2012 to 2015 realm, RPA became a thing. UiPath and others came on the scene, and some of the more sophisticated organizations started to automate, repetitive human tasks with RPA. But again, it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't in your face. And we got automated scheduling that came in about in that same time. But it's really the breakthrough with AI that has pushed automation to the forefront completely. And I'm not talking just AI automation, but the idea that we don't have to have so much human interaction with things. And the reason for it is now you have every senior leader in your organization is having their teenage kid, their brother, everybody else showing them the cool stuff that they can do with AI, and it's in the news everywhere. That wasn't the case with RPA and other previous automation technologies. So now there's this push and pull that's happening in the organization because of the excitement around AI that is really causing companies to accelerate their application of automation in their organizations. So, the candidate and recruiter expectations have changed for good, but I think more importantly, they not have changed. They are changing and are going to continue to change at a really rapid pace. The reality is, as we see again, people are so interactive with social media and technology out there that they start to quickly compare everybody to the best in class that they've seen. It's so easy for people to see that. So it used to be that an as good as model or strategy would play well. But now you have organizations that are advancing so quickly that it's really easy for you to look way behind in what you're doing. And if we think about how Amazon affected that space in the shopping experience, once Amazon got in everybody's face, every other shopping company had to go, we need to change how we do things. We've changed the expectation dramatically. The same thing is starting to happening in the candidate experience. And if one of your major competitors jumps out and completely blows up candidate experience in a great way, you're going to find yourself chasing, trying to catch up, because this candidate expectation quickly evolves as they see these new things, and you have to be able to keep up with that. So as good as is really quickly becoming the losing strategy, because where people are today and where they're going tomorrow is moving so fast. And if so, this goes back to, as they say in hockey, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going. And the puck is going faster than we've ever seen before right now in the recruitment technology space. And so you need to make sure that you partner with companies that have a track record of innovation and development, that are building things that you haven't even thought to ask for yet. And that's not every technology company out there. There's a lot of technology companies that are chasing the market, chasing their competition, trying to catch up to where other people are at. And you don't want to find yourself in that situation, because you're already a bit in that situation as a company. I'm chasing also often trying to catch up to my competitors. So I want to make sure that I have a technology platform that is leading and building there, because the last thing I want to have to do is switch technology. We've all been in the play with having to switch technology in our organizations, and what the pain of that switch is, and change management and everything else by itself is enough. But just trying to get it through your legal and compliance department, it's absolutely atrocious. So making sure that you're picking a vendor that's not just great for today, but they're great for tomorrow and they're great for 5 years from now is critical, if you don't want to be stuck as that legacy employer that's behind. So the best case, best companies are reinventing themselves, but the reality is, um, everything's reinventing. And if you're not employees have to reinvent themselves in this marketplace. Healthcare companies have to reinvent themselves, but the same thing, tech companies. Are you going to a tech company that's built on innovation, built on automation and driving that kind of experience, and that's their legacy? Are you built on a company that has a legacy of good enough, and they're trying to reinvent themselves to become AI? We saw a lot of that in the when AI came out. You had a lot of companies that the next day started slapping, "We're now an AI company." They were selling the same thing they were selling before. They were calling it AI, and they're not truly reinventing themselves; they're just renaming themselves. So making sure that you yourself are reinventing yourself as a company, but you're not dealing with a technology company that innovation is a new invention for them. You want to make sure that innovation's in their blood, and that's what they've always been built on. And AI and automation is just a further extension of the innovation that they already had. So everybody's looking for these automation-led gains then. What's the better experiences that candidates are having? How are we targeting our job ads and not just, blasting across the world? It's horrible when you peanut butter spread ad spend. Um, Personalization at scale, there's lots of automation available now that really allows us to create a more personalized experience by the type of candidate that's coming in. So in healthcare, it's so complex. You have everything from doctors coming to your sites to janitors. And are you giving the same experience to all of them? And is that really the best experience? Or are you trying to find a happy medium that's really not all that happy for anybody? And then that 24/7 engagement, recruiters only work certain hours of the day, and that's the reality. And we're not going to ask them to work 24/7, but there's a lot of other things that can happen 24/7 through automation. And this may be the one statistic that I think a lot of HR people, but specifically HR people in healthcare, probably struggle the most with, is 80% of mid-sized and large healthcare organizations are expected to use some degree of AI in their recruiting process in 2026. And I know what so many of you are thinking. I experienced it at HCA, right? There are a whole lot of reluctance around AI, although we had some in place in certain places. But the thought is that legal's never going to let us do it. The company's never going to let us do it. And it's because you automatically go to AI in selection. And we know there's a lot of legal and concerns around AI and selection, but there's so much other AI that can be used in places that's not in the legally fraught space of selection. And the nature of healthcare organizations, because they're so concerned about leaking health information. And they usually apply that standard across kind of all of their thinking, right? So AI is really held up. But the reality is they're working on AI in their health information systems now, and they're going to launch it. It's happening across all over, as you saw with the Cedars-Sinai example. Once they get comfortable, we can put our most sensitive data in AI and it's working, and they get comfortable with that environment. It's not new and strange to them anymore. they're going to start really quickly going, we want to spread this fast across our organizations. And are you going to be ready to accept it? So if you're sitting back and thinking, I'm waiting for my organization to tell me, boy, that's not a good position to be in, because they're going to accelerate crazy fast once they have successful and safe trials that are happening in the clinical space. They are not going to worry about you leaking an email or a name. Your PI is so low in risk compared to the PI that they have, that acceleration in the AI space is going to hit really fast in recruiting. And so you want to make sure you're well positioned for a company, not just to meet the needs of automation and stuff that you have today, but who can extend that automation into the realm of AI and bring those things to bear very quickly, because your organization is going to have that kind of demand.
All right, we're going to do one more poll. This is a quick one, so we'll do 5 more seconds before we hand it over to Pratik. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Jason, for that insight. Pratik, over to you. Would
Thank
love
you.
to learn more about our joint recruitment automation maturity model.
Thank you, Sajad. Today, we are going to introduce our recruiting automation maturity model for talent acquisition. We created this maturity model to help talent acquisition teams understand their current level of recruiting automation so that they can make better decisions and create effective adoption amid overwhelming AI information. Nowadays, everyone is talking about automation, everyone is talking about AI, right? And everyone wants to get on the bandwagon, right? But before you truly understand as a team where you are, you will not get the most effective output just by adopting automation and adopting AI. And hence, we have created, think of a model where you can effectively know where you stand, right? And then based on that, you can take accordingly, you can take actions, right? So we are hoping to give talent acquisition leaders the visibility they need to identify where their teams stand today, uncover inefficiencies, and prioritize areas for improvement. By pinpointing gaps across job advertising, talent engagement, candidate experience, and data integration, the model empowers talent acquisition teams to take informed steps towards adopting automation and AI. Okay, so this is the stage one, right? At this stage, automation plays no role in your talent acquisition strategy, and your team lacks the necessary training to utilize it. You are pretty much operating entirely on manual processes with no automation in place. When it comes to job advertising, it's entirely manual. You are posting jobs on job boards without any tool, without any automation. Your career site is static. It does not have any chatbot or any interactive agents to help aid the job seekers. Your talent engagement relies on manually sending personalized messages. There are no campaigns, there are no tools to aid you. The candidate screening involves manual screening, manual review of every resume. There is no ranking of the resume based on the parameters. There is no automation when it comes to creating the content for the job or creating the content for your employer branding. So pretty much everything is manual, right? And this is where we have seen a lot of employers at this stage, right? But again, the good thing is you can only improve from here. So this is not a bad state to be in. Now to adopt automation and AI, what we recommend is, instead of getting the most sophisticated tools and trying to automate everything at once, you should really understand and understand your processes, where the inefficiencies are. Make sure that you have the right data. You then run a couple of experiments, right, and gradually move towards the next stage, instead of getting a 800-pound gorilla. Okay. Sajad, next. Okay. So this is the stage or level 2, right? So in this level, your team has started experimenting with automation, but it's more of an experiment rather than a company-wide rollout, where the adoption is fragmented and inconsistent. A few of your team members are running pilot of AI tools, but it's mostly done in a individual capacity. There is no clear roadmap, right? There are no specialized tools, right? Or there are no company provision tools. It's mostly general AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini. In this case, the job advertising, you will be using a distribution tool for posting automatically, but the nuances of it, whether it's a bidding, whether it's targeting, whether it's budgeting, all of that is done manually. Your career site will have a basic rules-based chatbot, but which can answer FAQs, but beyond that, it can't do much. Your talent engagement will have templates. So you'll have templates, and you can have basic automation, but it's not personalized, right? Similarly, your candidate screening, you can search for certain keywords in your CRM, right? But you're not getting a rank or a score. And your all the content creation will use some Gen AI tool, but it's not specialized. So now at this level, right, this is I would say, very important level, and this is where we see a lot of employers at, and this is where there are two very divergent paths. One path is where there's a risk of, if you don't formalize this, it will just become an experiment and at some point of time die off. But there is another way, where if you really formalize this, right, and if you put in the right investment, you can move to the next level, where instead of experiment, it becomes operations. And that is where you'll get to the next level. Now, to go to the next level, you need to focus on breaking data silos, right? You need to create a automation roadmap. You need to create a framework on how everything will be done. And now, instead of automating individual tasks, you need to create workflows, which is nothing but a series of tasks. You also need to double down on upskilling your team, right, so that you move from experiments to operations. At level 3, automation is no longer just an experiment. It's an active driver of talent acquisition efficiency. You have moved beyond the basics. Automation is part of your roadmap. It's no longer a side experiment. And your team have access to, and they use specialized automation tools. So they are no longer relying on generic automation tool. There are purpose built tools, right, for specific parts of the recruitment, and the team is using them. So when it comes to job advertising, you use an AI driven bidding optimization, though it's not fully automated yet. Most of the other decisions, especially related to media and budgeting, it's still human. But now there's an AI bidding. Your career site will have an AI-driven chatbot, where it's moving beyond the rule-based, but still not fully automated, where it can pretty much help job seekers navigate through the entire talent acquisition funnel. Your talent engagement would have personalization and segmentation capability using specialized CRMs, but it's not fully automated. Your candidate screening moves beyond basic searches. Instead, there will be more semantic search. It's not just a keyword search. And then you'll also be using specialized tools for job content and employer branding assets. To move to the next stage, you need to expand the workflow across the entire TA functions, right? And you also need to make sure that it moves beyond to other functions as well. You need to build a culture where you're rewarding team members who try to give better results via automation, right? You need to create automation champions across your orgs, right? So in level 3 you have graduated, right? Or stage 3 you have graduated, but it's still not, it does not work like a clockwork, right? You still have to, orchestrate and, do certain things, but it's no longer an experiment. At level 4, automation is central to how talent acquisition functions. TA teams no longer use automation for isolated tasks. They rely on automation to optimize every touch point of the candidate journey, whether it's a recruitment, marketing strategies, talent outreach, or recruiting workflows. All of them dynamically adjust based on insights, creating a seamless data-driven TA motion. At this stage, your automation strategy across TA is complete with defined goals and milestones. Your team regularly automates workflows and there is cross-functional collaboration. Job advertising is fully automated and dynamically managed. Your jobs are optimized. Your AI takes or automation takes care of targeting, bidding, budget allocation based on real-time performance by source. So in this case, the whole advertising is completely automated. When it comes to career site, it has a conversational AI agent that assist candidates in their job search journey for them to apply as well as post apply. So it pretty much manages or helps candidates navigate the entire recruitment journey. Your talent engagement leverages automation to dynamically personalize campaigns with content tailored to individual candidate profiles. So this is again beyond level 3. Your screening uses ML technologies where you can get ranks and you can get scores, and based on that you can build workflows. Your entire content creation is also automated, where you will be using multiple specialized tools to generate the content, right? So in this case, the key difference is each of these things are fully automated, right, and fully functional, right? But then they're still very rule driven, right? And all these 4 5 different parts, they don't work together, and that is where you go to the next level. So when you go to the next level, then your individual components starts talking to each other, right? And you need to start using AI. So if I go to the last level 5, right? So in this case, so there are two important things which happens. One is all of this. So for example, the job advertising, right? It will start working alongside your talent engagement. So what it means that if you're not going to get enough, or like if you're not able to fill the jobs just through your existing talent pool, it will automatically start advertising for those hard to fill roles, right? Similarly, if once you advertise, it will automatically go to the candidate agent, and it will make sure that those traffic or those candidates convert, right? So each of these point solutions which are fully automated, each of them start talking, and then you have one comprehensive uh, product, right? Or workflow where each part starts working seamlessly. So this is one difference. This is where you get to the level 5. Second is this becomes the status quo, where automation is the key, or it's the default thing. It's no longer, it does not feel like a new thing, or a new effort, where it becomes the foundation of your TA strategy and a competitive differentiator. Companies at this level are constantly innovating. They are using automation and AI. Right? At this stage, automation is deeply ingrained in your long-term talent acquisition vision and strategy. Your team uses it daily for all their strategic workflows. In this case, AI automatically manage the entire job advertising process from job distribution to budget allocation. Your career site has the best-in-class AI agent, which handles end-to-end candidate interaction. Your talent engagement is fully automated and hyper-personalized. Your candidate scoring incorporates comprehensive contextual analysis and bias mitigation, and all of this work together. And this is a transformative journey where uh, all these stages, right? This journey is transformative, where each stage offering new opportunities to optimize, innovate, and lead, right? So whether you are starting with a basic automation, right, or aiming to build a fully automated recruiting process, every step forward creates a measurable impact, right? Faster hiring and lower cost. So with this, we present to you our maturity model, right, where you can understand where you are, what it means, and how do you get to the next one. Now, this is our ideal, or like ideal workflow. Like, what if you could, have a magic wand and you can create your perfect workflow where everything works, right? So now imagine if your recruiting workflow could look like this. What if there could be an end-to-end workflow all the way from intelligence stage, where you're gathering data and insight, to orchestrate a recruiting campaign all the way to the higher stage? I'm sure everyone's recruiting workflow looks a bit different, right? This is a typical one which we have seen, working with many customers, right? And this is how we believe the automation can work, right? Where it can help aggregate all the data and insights you need, right? Even before you do anything else, it can you can then create the right job content. You can then distribute the job content across a number of sources and channel, right? Then all the candidates which you get, you can screen them based on certain criteria. Then you can submit those applications into the ATS, and then you can also help candidates post application, right? You can re-engage candidates that drop off or silver medalist for specific roles, you know? So while automation can do a whole lot, the important thing is that you should not do automation for the sake of automation, right? It should produce a high quality output, right? And it should make your recruiting and your candidate experience better.
Thanks, Prateek. That's awesome. Jason and Jennifer, how does this map to some of the processes and workflows that you've seen as you work with healthcare organizations?
I'll let you go first, Jennifer.
Okay. I was like watching the mute button coming on and off. Happy to. So I do see a mix. I find a lot of organizations we partner with today, as they embrace creating, all having the destination of this most efficient workflow that you've presented. Typically, they're kind of at that stage 2, aspiring to stage 3. So I think a lot of times organizations will have bountiful data, but not that insights as to what lever to specifically turn. I believe what's most important is to ensure, and Jason touched on this a bit, is ensuring that everyone can do technology and AI, that you're really taking your partners to task, that you're working in collaboration with agencies and tech firms to ensure that your goal is clearly stated and that you have clear outcomes on what you're trying to achieve. It is a journey. It is one toe in the water, one step at a time, not really kind of off the dive board. But I do believe that as you can work on identifying where you want to be in 30, 60, 90 and continue to improve with your partners, with the right partners, that your workflow can look like this if committed. So again, I think rest assured, if you sit in that stage 2 or 3 and you have some of these check the box for the workflow, great. Aspire to identify which ones you can improve upon one at a time to make this more effective for your organization.
Yeah, and I see a lot of pieces of this being done,
Yeah.
but it's not being done automatically and holistically. So I know lots of people who they're actively monitoring, the cost of labor market information, but it's not being just resurrected in front of them in a digestible way. So they have to go buy tools and dig in, and not everybody has the sophistication to do that. You know, the same thing with job distribution. You know, I see a lot of people who, you know, have very effective job distribution engines as far as getting it out to the job boards. But really comparing the effectiveness one versus the other, should you even be engaging in some of these job boards, even if they are free? And on the screening side, I see, you know, a lot of places that they're using some knockout questions that they're asking candidates, but you know, they may asking them, are the recruiters actually actively using them? Are they stack ranking their candidates? Are they, you know, advancing and dispositioning based on it? So, you know, the elegance of your AI, the ease of its implementation, and I say AI, but automation interchangeably, right? The ease of its use. We're humans and recruiters are humans. And if you make things too arduous, they tend not to do it, or they do it infrequently. You know, how often are you really looking at your market intelligence data? You know, once every 6 months when your CHRO or your CEO asks you about it? Or is it something that you're resurrecting on a constant basis to show them, you know, this kind of information? So I think as you get into a truly more automated and a user-friendly platform, um, the effort level that it takes to do some of these things and surface this data and analyze this data drops precipitously. And that really changes the way that you're able to react real time to things that are happening in the market. Because as we said, with AI advent, the market's changing faster now than ever. And if you're only looking at stuff once every 3, 6 months, or never, unfortunately for some people, um, then it's changing vastly faster than what you're aware of.
Thank you. With that, we're going to dive into the Q&A section. We've got lots of questions. I'm going to probably start with number one right there. What are some of the easy buttons in this hiring climate, if any? Jennifer or Jason?
Well, I think easy buttons depends on where you're at. I mean, everybody's level of low-hanging fruit is very different. And you know, so for me, the biggest easy button that I see with clients in first place is, are you using the technology that you have? And if you're not, why aren't you? In some cases, it's just because you didn't know it was there. You didn't know any better. You don't know what you don't know. But in other cases, it's because your technology that you have is clunky. It's not very effective, and that's why recruiters don't engage it. So I think the easy button changes as I come into organizations and I do audits of the recruiting environment and things of that nature. I see it kind of all over. So sometimes, you know, people's level of low hanging fruit is very different. And it depends on the size of your organization too. If you're an organization that hires 1,000 people a year versus 100,000 people a year, it's easy to find solutions to put in when you're hiring 100,000 people a year, because if I can affect 10 hours of time on every one of my recruiters and I have 500 recruiters, well, heck, there's a lot that I can do. But if I have 5 recruiters, this is a little bit different. So, you know, that's where I think it really requires some analysis of where the easy button is. And everybody's on a different journey in that regard. And I think that's an important thing with your vendor selections as well, is that they can't come in too myopic of, I know how to do things, because I have to know where you're at, what you're dealing with, what your environment is, and then identify. You think about the standard consultant quadrant, effort versus impact, right? We start putting those things in place, and from the effort standpoint, right now, I think one of the big things when we're talking about automation, mostly when AI is in the mix, the effort piece is, can I get it through my legal? Can I get it through my procurement? Can I get it through those things? And again, what you may find is that we need to start with some lower effort elements. So let's don't do AI. Let's don't turn it on at first. Let's just turn on automation and bring in these things. But knowing that I have a vendor that then we can jack up into that higher area as that effort level falls, and as your organization gets more comfortable with AI and the safety, data safety of AI, I think you're going to find that that effort level falls very quickly, and now you're missing the impact. So you have to be able to ramp that pretty quick.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. The next question we've got is, what is some of the AI that people are finding really helpful in their day-to-day activities? And how about AI for the contingent workforce?
I just want to echo what Jason had mentioned as relates to everyone starting the journey a little differently based upon resources, size of team, size of budget. So really identifying and acknowledging where you are and then what tools you have is critical. And to follow through with this question, I believe what often is most applicable to more organizations than not is, what are those repetitive tasks? If you're having a lot of like volume of resumes, how can that help automate some of that busy work and keep the train on the track? So it could be resume parsing, it could be scoring and grading and assigning, calling to follow up. So I think a lot of the pieces that perhaps talent acquisition is looking for are some of those tasks that can expedite a lot of the follow-up and administrative tasks that will allow you to really identify and have richer conversations with more potential talent. So when you are looking at tools that you either have, it's interesting to know that some have partnerships with, let's say, LinkedIn for sourcing. Some have texting or video interviews built in. So if you don't have a current platform per se, look at the tools you do use and see what else can be, and maybe make a bit of a report card quadrant to understand how and what tools are most applicable for you now. I think that would be best. But that's what I would say. I think ultimately, if you can look at those on how to use source and automate and keep that hiring moving, those are all the data points that you're looking to really start with, if not and perfect.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of exciting things in this space. The candidate conversation quality tools or interview intelligence tools are fantastic. The automated AI sourcing messaging that you can have. It's interesting as you look at a lot of this stuff, and so many of the tools, they're built that, well, you can have AI automate the message and then you choose to click it, or you can have it just fully automate, right? Which is great because it allows you to try before you fully commit. But what I think we're finding is people are going, well, I want a human to hit the send button still, right? I don't trust it to, but when you find yourself just hitting send, because it's so good, at some point, can you say, can you just automate the send button for me too? So the candidate matching side, having the candidate, how can we help the candidate find a better job rather than selecting them out of the process? How do we help them select them into the process? Those are places where I say are really low hanging fruit because they're not they don't have the same legal concerns and legal risks, and they're much easier to push through. And they're a huge candidate impact piece from a candidate experience. So there's a whole lot of places where, I like to refer a lot of times as it's not really artificial intelligence as it is assisted intelligence. And those are usually the places that you start. And as you find that the assistance is so good that why am I even involved in this anymore? That's where you flip the switch and you go, we're just going to make it completely artificial. We're going to let it run on its own. And everybody's going to have a different path to the speed of their adoption of that, and making sure that you have the tools that can, let you crawl, walk, run. And some people crawl longer than others, right? You need to have tools that can do that.
Awesome. Thank you. The next question is around, how should healthcare talent acquisition think about automation versus machine learning versus AI, especially considering the legal and procurement component? And what are some early use cases that one should start with when it comes to automation or AI?
Yeah, and I think I hit a couple of those with early use cases, staying out of the selection funnel.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you can't legally do the selection funnel. You absolutely can. But it's where legal departments freak out the most. It's where you run into jurisdictions that you have to put disclaimers on your jobs that you're using AI and explaining how you use it. And you have to deal with, any candidate perceptions of that, right? But once you step out of that, there's so many different places that you can utilize the AI that doesn't have the legal risks. It doesn't have the same level of broad exposure, or like I said, it's assisted intelligence. It gives me that draft. And kind of, you think about as AI has evolved, when you looked at like Chat GPT 3.5, I would say the draft was 60%. And then you got to 4.0 and the draft was 90. It's pretty darn good. And now with 4.5 and the latest of Gemini and some of the others, guys, 99. And then you have to ask yourself too, if you had a human do it, can they get to 99? Can they even get to 90? Can they get to 75? And I think we often like to compare our AI to our best recruiters.
Mm.
AI is not going to beat your best recruiter. Most of your best recruiters are doing some aid with AI. But the fact is if I could come into your organization and say, if I could get every recruiter to be just better than your current 50th percentile, what would the impact be? Would you rather have me make your best recruiters slightly better or your worst recruiters at least average or above? And there's some great research that's been done by this in lots of different organizations, investment banking and consulting, that really shows that's what AI is doing. Is it's closing the gap between your lowest performers and your highest performers in a way that allows you to, really increase the performance output of your entire organization. And so we have to think about AI, a little bit differently, and don't get so caught up on it's always going to be an interviewer that's going to automatically select who is it going to be. Yes, is that possible? And is that the utopian end stage that we can have everybody get a great experience through an automated interview? Sure. But that is not a binary switch. And if it were, this AI would probably never move forward in recruiting.
Awesome. We've got one question that's a little bit back to the basics. What are some of the tactics that to help engage curious nurse candidates in today's world?
You're getting into the creative space more. That's where I'll throw my hands in. There's a lot of things I've realized in this world that I don't know how other people think in general, yet alone nurses. So that's just not my area of expertise.
Yeah, I can help a little bit here. I think, attracting any type of specific discipline, in particular with nurses, candidate engagement, you can have, leverage personalized outreach and communication, automated communication through a CRM, having chatbots to show the journey. Your career site is a 24/7 opportunity to communicate with potential talent. Oftentimes you can then create retargeting campaigns. They've showed interest. You can leverage that to come back. It's an opportunity to be there because they've risen their hand virtually, and you're allowing them a chance to interact with that chatbot to learn more about benefits, what's vacation, when do I start, what's the onboarding process. You can ask a number of questions. Then I think, again, it'll help you have more predictive insights to know that these are the types of questions that nurses are asking. And then you filter that to recruiters. So as they go to events and have that personal interaction, it's common nurses ask us these things and let us just jump to the bunch. So that's the way I would leverage it as a TA team to ensure that you're tracking and being available, tracking common questions, and really staying at the forefront. It is all about content. So AI is intended to ensure that it's giving very personalized, quality communications. So you're not having very generic responses. So that's the beauty of it as well. So, but just remember, it's continuous learning. It's always going to be a lot of.
I will say one thing that I think most healthcare organizations struggle with. I know we did this too. Candidates like stuff that's more raw. They love an iPhone video. They love, basic, very
Sure.
unscripted, not corporate stuff. And that's a challenge in healthcare because there's so much they want to maintain, we have to have this professional presence about us because they're used to the world of doctors and patients and everything else. And so, that's what I know in most healthcare organizations, you have to fight that battle to some extent with your marketing groups and others. But the more that you can make it real, more raw,
Authentic,
more
yeah.
unscripted and authentic, and that's not just nurses, that's all candidates. But I just think that healthcare is one of the environments where the marketing group wants way more polish on videos and stuff that goes out than what's as appealing to a candidate.
Completely agree. Yeah, authenticity to your brand. I mean, this is a lot of impact. So that's a great point.
Awesome. Well, I've got one very quick question for Prateek. Can AI predict future staffing needs or spot trends in the job market for healthcare roles? How does that work?
I think that's a tough one. I think we can definitely. I think it's more to do with labor data, right, rather than just AI predicting the future staffing needs, right? I think we already have trends, right, where we have a demand supply trends and data based on what has happened, right? But I think probably it's more to do with the overall market dynamics, right? Policies, right? I don't think AI can predict the supply or demand in the future, right? But whatever data we have, based on that, we do have built prediction models, right, where we can or we can do some sort of a prediction, but I'm not sure if AI can do that entirely.
Okay, so I guess we're still further away from from a stage where that can be done with pinpoint accuracy. We're going to take one more question, which is around what are some of the biggest challenges healthcare recruiters face when adopting AI, and how can we work through them?
I think, and I don't think this is a healthcare recruiter specific thing, but recruiters in general. There's some recruiters that they're afraid of AI because they think it's going to take their job, number one. And they don't, just the idea of putting AI into your organization is for a lot of recruiters, they think, well, you're just going to eliminate my job. And there's a professor from Wharton named Ethan Mollick that's all he does is study AI. And I love his statement. He said, AI is not going to replace you. Somebody who uses AI is going to replace you. And I think where we show recruiters how AI can make them a better recruiter, how you can do a better intake session on a job you've never done before, because I can ask AI to help me write questions to better, do an intake session with my hiring manager, or even how I can better interview that candidate, because now I know the kinds of questions that I should be asking them, things of that nature. The power of AI to fill in gaps, and I think probably one of the things that it behooves recruiting organizations is to actually sit down with real use cases and let's start walking through, how even just your personal use of your preferred AI engine. And for a lot of you people, it might be Copilot, because maybe you have that, within your Microsoft system. You can start using it to do things, because a lot of recruiters believe, well, it's going to make all kinds of mistakes and it's all kinds of horrible. But the more that they work with it and get comfortable with it and understand it is not perfect, but there's some places it's fantastic, I think that's going to be easier to get recruiters to embrace it when it comes time, as these tools become more and more prevalent and more use cases get plugged into their organization. AI as a skill is something every employee out there, you need to be reinventing yourself with AI. If you're not, you're going to be one of them on the chopping block in the white collar world anyway.
Awesome. Well, Jason, Jennifer, and Prateek, thank you for sharing all these wonderful words of wisdom and for taking the time to do this webinar with us. We're at the top of the hour. Thank you to everyone who joined today. Hope you had a very helpful and informative webinar session. We will send over a quick thank you note and the recording over to you. Have a wonderful rest of your day and wonderful rest of your week.
Great.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you all.